I want to bring in Joe Lonsdale, founding partner at AVC and a co-founder of Palantir. Good morning to you. It's a fascinating story. By the way, if you pair that story up with that piece in the New York Times last week about the Navy and how much money is being spent actually not on AI, in fact, that it's been such a jobs program that they're not wanting to actually do the right thing. Where are we really? That's what I was going to ask you.
This is the big question with any defense spending in the U.S. Which part of it's a jobs program and which part of it's going to scare our adversaries to not have war? And, the Navy is doing some great things. We have a new company, Saronic, that's actually doing exactly what that announcement says, which is building lots of naval drones with AI. Instead of building just $14 billion ships, you spend one of those $14 billion on 10,000 smart, weaponized drones. That's going to be a lot more effective against our adversaries.
So that's the question, though. Do we need these $14 billion ships anymore?
You probably do need a few big ships. There's an argument for aircraft carriers. It's true, in a near adversary confrontation, China could take out some of these things pretty quickly, so you want to complement them with tens of thousands of smaller things. Like right now, we're way too skewed towards the big stuff. We need a lot more small autonomous drones, and we're doing that in the air, we're doing that in the water. This is very important stuff.
Are we overspending?
I think we could cut some of the spending on the military side, that's the job side, and you can reallocate it towards the scare our enemies side and towards advanced technology side. The big question in defense, Andrew, is how much are they willing to allow competition? So we have all these new companies with the best and the brightest coming in, and if you let us compete evenly, if you let us go to out in the desert and you have their devices versus our devices, for example, in the EMP space, one of the competitions recently, we were 10 times better. We shot down the hardened drones over 9 times farther away for the same size device. This is against people who have gotten billions of dollars of contracts. This is, the company Epirus, for example, a top EMP new company. We still don't win the big contracts because we don't play the same games the same way, but eventually they need to start letting us A, compete, and then B, win for having won the competition.
Joe, I hear you on that. I guess my only question would be the downside, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, is just that if you give them away to too many small companies, you don't have the ability to say, okay, this company's going to be here in 10 years, it's going to be funded, we're going to be able to
and that's a big question. It's not, so right now in the military, there's the systems of record, the really big contracts, and there's the lots of little things for the little small companies, and historically, those little grants are just for you're veteran owned, you're minority owned, it's kind of oh, you're a little kid, which is, it's messed up, but that's how they've done it. What we need is we need paths for new companies to become primes. That's what you've seen Anduril doing, that's what you've seen Palantir doing, SpaceX doing. We need to allow a few more companies to become, from small to the big ones to win the system of record.
So, but what has to happen for that to take place?
For that to take place, you need to have more open competitions. You need to have the results of the competition be a path to a system of record for new companies versus when you talk to senators, they say, Joe, why can't you just sell your companies to the big companies? Well, our best engineers don't all want to go work necessarily at the big companies because their cultures are not the best technology cultures.
I'm not sure that, now, you think the government would allow you to sell some of these companies? Given the regulatory environment, though.
And this is actually a really funny thing about the government is the DOD will tell you one thing, and then the DOJ and the FTC will tell you the DOD says don't hire these people with these backgrounds with family in China because they could get information on your company, and then the DOJ sues you if you're Elon or Palantir and says you're discriminating against people from China. You're like, okay, well, tell me which one to do. It's a mess. It's obviously a mess. So yes, they are allowing some acquisitions. They probably should allow more, but they also need to allow us to compete.
Right. I have a actually related question. Did you read this piece in the New Yorker 2 weeks ago about SpaceX?
I think I saw it.
And the satellites, and how much the U.S. and frankly the entire West is now reliant on Starlink, and the power and influence therefore.
Thank God we have.
And thank God we have it.
Yes.
I'm not. But the question is there any competition in that space that's a coming? And if it isn't, what do you do from a policy perspective? Because that's also its own conundrum.
There are a lot of companies that people have tried to start to compete against SpaceX. There's a lot of money being invested for
Bezos is trying to. Everyone's trying to.
Bezos try. There's things that spin stuff around really fast and shoot it up. There's small rockets. There's right now SpaceX is just completely dominant, but it's dominant because it's the best. It's kind of if you can make the cost 10 times less, thank goodness. So right now SpaceX is winning. I do think there's still competitors. If SpaceX starts to fall, then the competitors will beat them. But right now SpaceX is winning.